Welcome to Storytellers Behind the Scenes. This episode was actually my first ever attempt at podcasting. Luckily, my dear friend Andy Obeck, one of Keystone Pictures' partners, agreed to be my first guest. We've been on many shoots together, sharing lots of laughs as well as challenges in the field. Andy always brings calm and a sense of optimism to everything he does. I hope you enjoy our chat, and remember, it was a first for both of us. Today, I'm here with Andy Obeck, one of the amazing partners of Keystone Pictures. How are you today, Andy?
I'm great, Jody. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here today. Tell me a little bit about, condensed version of just where you grew up, where you went to college, and how why you decided to go into television production, to be a director of photography.
Well, I wish I could say it was a great story, but it's not. I went to Kutztown University. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I needed a college education. So I went to Kutztown undeclared, was there for about a year, getting the regular classes done. And lo and behold, I just happened to find out they had this really good communications department and looked into it, and I'm like, that's interesting. I think that would be something really fun to do. And thinking back, I never really thought about it then, but after doing everything, I look back and I'm like, when I was younger, we were kids, we would take the 8mm camera my cousin's dad had, and we were making movies, these short little films, but it never occurred to me to be a filmmaker. And then went to Kutztown. They had a great department in television, and I thought that would be really fun. I could do that, and sure enough, it was fun. I got all A's in all my courses as opposed to my regular courses, which I was just average, because I really enjoyed it. And
You're
it was
never
fun.
Average, Andy.
And so went there, graduated, got out of school. I was in the Harrisburg market. That was the closest big city to me, so I started applying everywhere, production companies, TV stations. Ended up getting a job. My first job was at Channel 21 in Harrisburg. And, it was like, hey, my big first job, TV station. This is great. I'm a master control. I didn't know what that was, but I'm like, it sounds great. And sure enough, the job was watching TV for a few hours and hitting a button to put in the local commercials.
It's a start though, right?
It's a start. Yeah.
Let me just ask you a quick question. When you decided to go to Kutztown, because, people are going to be listening to this, or maybe interns that we've had, or, young people in college, did you have a hard time, when you started school, you said you were undeclared in your major. Once you decided to major in communications, do you feel like you got that you were prepared for the real world when you left with that education and in production? I went to Penn State, and the equipment that we had that I was working on was, old. Now they have a whole telecommunications building, and it's a whole different story, but I'm not familiar with Kutztown's program. I do know that, there's some very talented people like yourself who have graduated from there.
Yeah, I think they have an amazing program. And I think the great part about it is they had a lot of gear. It wasn't new. It was, back then it was 3/4 inch. But that was, I think not that old compared to back then, but it was a smaller school, I guess. So you did get a lot of hands-on, which was really great. They had studios, they had a production truck. And
oh, wow.
Kutztown was all, back then, I don't know how it is now, but it was all TV. There was no film. You didn't do film classes. You didn't do any kind of film.
I see.
Whereas I think a lot of the other schools, Temple, Penn State, it's a film program, they leaned less on the TV end of it, where I was all TV.
Gotcha.
Working in studios, working in the control rooms, kind of stuff, learning to edit tape to tape. But I think they prepared me so well for the program. And like everybody that I know that comes out of Kutztown, and I've gotten the comments too, like when I was young, like, wow, you're the best intern, or intern or a new guy out. You come out knowing a lot of stuff, and you don't get that a lot of times. Like because you did get the hands on with the
So
gear.
when you got your first job, you were in master control, as you were saying, which is not the most glamorous job in TV, right? And especially in news, you're kind of in a cave and there's a lot of monitors and buttons. And did you know at that point you wanted to be a photographer, a DP, or were you still sort of working through, what it is that your goals were?
I think I knew I wanted to be a photographer or on the technical side of it, um, possibly editor. Um, but I don't think I was honed in on like it has to be this. But I do know like I literally could only handle that job for about 3 months, and then I ended up thinking I maybe if I stayed there for years, I could obviously would have moved up to be something like on staff photographer.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think at the time I didn't want to wait that long, and so I ended up leaving there, but just going out and basically working part time and freelance at local production companies because I guess I kind of have been PA on some commercials, infomercials, that kind of stuff, and thought that's much cooler.
So you
That's
left the station without having another job and you were
no,
freelancing.
no, yeah, it was pretty much just part time work wherever I could find it, freelancing as a PA.
Talk to me about being a freelancer. What's that like?
Being a freelancer is it's great, and it's good and bad sides. But I think the good sides outweigh it. It's nice being your own your own boss in a way. I mean, you're not
Hmm.
totally your own boss, but you have the flexibility to work when you want to work, um, and do what you want to do. But the negative side of it is you're kind of stuck doing that job. Like once people know you as that, it's pretty hard to change. And I think I went, I can't even think how much. Like you start out as a PA. Obviously, you're going to move up from that eventually into gripping, maybe whatever you want to go to, producing or gripping. But um, I ended up going from that, doing any kind of job, working dub rooms and doing video depositions, to eventually being a sound guy for a while. But I knew I kind of always wanted. At that point, I did know I wanted to do camera,
So
and
how did you make the leap and how did you hook up with your current partners?
um, so working in Harrisburg, I had been freelancing with a bunch of different people and companies, and I met this one guy, Mark McEwen, who had worked for Daryl as well. And I think Mark McEwen put me in touch with him, and we got connected that way. And I had
So
started
you
doing
were
sound for him.
networking with other people.
Yeah.
Networking, you think, is something that is helpful for people, and how how can we explain sort of the process of how you go about that?
Yeah, networking is imperative. It's not just helpful. I mean, that is how you're going to get your business. That's how you're going to grow your business. Um, Networking and really being open to doing anything. Don't think anything's beneath you. Say yes to everything, because you know what? Whatever job you pick, no matter how small or little, if you go into that job and you're meeting 10 other people, and then while you're in there, you're not doing just your job, but you're trying to find ways to help out in other parts of the job, around the production, um, you're going to get noticed, and you're going to be a go-getter, and people are going to see that, and they're going to want to hire you back. In the beginning, being a freelancer, it could take 2 years to really build up a client base that you feel comfortable with, that you're not nervous every week to week, like, am I going to work? Am I going to be paying my bills?
Let's talk about just being a freelancer requires you to not only do the actual production work, but you also have to be your own business person. You have to be your own accountant. You have to be your own marketing and PR person. It takes a lot of personal, motivation. You also have to have a thick skin, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yep. You have to have a thick skin. Don't take anything personal. If you don't hear from people for a while, don't assume that you did something wrong. It's honestly, and one thing I would just suggest is to anybody out there, especially in the beginning when you're not on the top of the list, you're not the top 5 of being called, and you're kind of new, so you're maybe at the very bottom. It's honestly, if you call, I guarantee this happens all the time. If you would call and just say, hey, check it in, want to see how things are going, and all of a sudden that person's gonna be like, you know what? By the way, I just got a call 2 minutes ago about this job. Are you available? Just because you're there, you're talking to them, you're gonna get that job.
Very
Now,
true.
now
But there's
if you do
also
a
a
great job
balance, right? There's a balance
of not
of
being annoying,
being assertive
yeah,
and being a stalker,
exactly. And I think you
right? Because
can't
we've
always be
all had
calling.
that.
Don't call and just be like, hey, what do you got for me? Call, get to know the person, get to know their background, get to know their family life, and ask just natural conversation of, hey, just wanted to see how you're doing, and
Well, yeah,
and
and I
do it
think
once in a
too.
while,
Hmm?
and do it like once. I say if you're really new, maybe just do it politely once a week, and that might be too much, but I'd say the more clients you get and the more people are calling you and you're at the top 5, then you can do it like maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months, just check in with people.
Right. And now you
Um,
can email as well.
yeah,
You don't
and
always
you can
have to be
email.
calling because people in our industry are busy and they're, fielding a lot of calls. So sometimes emails, although emails can get lost, so a combination of the two. But I would say as somebody who hires freelancers and early in my career, that was one of my main jobs, I would, was always taken aback when people would call me and they didn't know anything about the business that they were calling. So, I worked for one of the main production companies in the Philadelphia area when I started. And it just amazed me that, people were they would cold call, but they didn't do the due diligence. They didn't research the company. So that's always for freelancers, for interns, for young people that I may speak to at college, you know, I always tell them, make sure you research the company where you're looking to get a job because that goes a long way. If they ask you a question, why Keystone Pictures? Why Roadhouse Media? Why do you want to come to work for us? If you can't respond to that question, you're never going to get hired, even as a freelancer. What
Yeah,
would
and
you
it gives
say?
you also just more material to have a conversation about because you have
Exactly.
stuff you may want to ask them, and they'll probably like that.
Exactly. Well, and it shows that you actually have a genuine interest, right?
Right.
In the work. A lot of people want to focus on one area of production. So they want to be a specialist in that area. And there are certain aspects of our business, like being a graphic designer, where you could be a specialist. But when you're in production, you're often asked to sort of be a generalist where you have to do a lot of jobs and wear a lot of hats. How does that impact your career, moving forward, since you had the background of doing all those different jobs? Would
I
you
think,
suggest people do that? Try every
yeah,
little thing?
I do. I honestly, I do believe that. I think having, if you have done editing, if you have done sound, if you have done lighting, and you've worked in a little bit of those areas all throughout, or worked with people doing that, it makes you a better whatever you're actually going to do as the main job. Like, me being a DP, knowing sound, knowing lighting, obviously, and knowing editing, which not everybody goes from editing to shooting, but it really, it makes your job better if you know what the editors are really looking for, needing back in post, as opposed to just
That's a good point
in your
because
in your tunnel of vision that, oh, I'm on the shoot today and this is what I need to get.
right.
Yeah, you covered it, but maybe you could have gotten more angles, and how that would have helped in post. I just
That's a
think
good point. So
it is a
when you're
big deal.
shooting and you're involved in a production, you're not just in a bubble, right? You're not just looking through that lens. You're actually also producing and directing and thinking through what the end result is going to be, right? What that final deliverable has to look like.
Yeah, and to me, it's a team effort. If there's an audio issue, I can help troubleshoot it with them because I know audio.
Right.
It's that kind of mentality. It's not like there's been some shoots where you're on like this guy just does that and he's in his own world and not worrying about anything else, and you're just like, not not looking too from like I don't know, and just not looking like it's not
It's
always like
not
a
the
good thing
best
to me.
team member to
No,
work with,
and that
obviously,
that
right?
I'll think about that next time I want to hire him. Like, yeah,
Right.
I like somebody who's going to be there and watch my back, and I'll watch their back.
If you look back, what have you realized in your life that you would tell your younger self to be more aware of,
To
or
do differently.
yeah, or to do differently? Yeah.
uh, I mean, definitely, you can't express enough about the networking, getting out there and just when you're on a shoot, get to know everybody, get them to know you. Don't be fly on the wall in a way, I guess, but like just but do it through being a hard worker, showing the initiative, and just being a go getter. Like I said before, it's I think
So
it's a
that's what you would
networking
have
aspect.
told your younger self.
Yeah, and I
And it
guess with
sounds
some,
like the same thing you would tell, if you were going to give advice, to your
yeah. I mean,
daughters
you're
or
saying like
somebody else.
what I tell myself that I didn't do right the first time. I don't know. I think just marketing myself better, just or like I guess in a way I'm kind of more of the in a big crowd, just like listen and try not to like I don't like speaking up in front of a lot of people. Maybe it's social anxiety, I don't know, but just take that if you're uncomfortable with it, do it anyways. Um, like, just get to know
Listen,
people.
you've been on a lot of shoes with a lot of famous people, and being quiet and a listener goes a long way with people like that.
Yeah, you have to feel it out. You definitely do.
Yeah.
I've seen people come on set, young people, maybe interns or just in the business, and way overstep their bounds. And I'm like, how do you not see you're way overstepping your bounds here? Like step it back.
And do they end up leaving and not coming back on set, or
Yeah, definitely. They would not get asked back just
yeah,
because, like if you start trying to direct and the director's like, yeah,
like what are
okay,
you doing?
come, like, if you have suggestions, go to that person. Let him make that decision. Yes, maybe you're not going to get the credit, but you know what? That guy's going to know that you have the initiative, and he may take you under his wing and get you to the point where you want to be anyways, as opposed to being like, I'll never have her back or him back on set because they're always trying to produce or direct and take, like get in my way. So
Do you ever have interns that are kind of pushy like that with you, where they just, want to tell you how
no,
you should be doing anything?
no, not really. I've just seen it with other people and other like, you know, everybody wants to be a director. Everybody wants to be a producer. Not too
So
many
along
people.
those lines, your advice to kids coming out of college looking for internships, um, what would you say to them? If they're out there looking for a job, they're getting out of college, and they're one of these people who's partying it up at school and they're taking pictures and posting it all over the place. I mean, I've had this conversation with my kids, I've had it with other people. Once it's on the internet, it's never going away. You can take down a photo, but if somebody's already got it or taken a screen grab, I don't think people realize. I'm sure they're told, but they may not believe it. Future employers, even colleges, when they receive your application,
I'm sure they're
they
looking all
check your
into it.
social media.
They will, and they're looking for everything, and it's going to be seen. Just, I don't know. I guess
But
if
just
you wouldn't want your mom and
advising
dad
young
to, if you wouldn't
kids,
want your mom and dad to see it, then maybe you shouldn't post it.
I like that. So if you don't want your mom and dad to see it, don't post it. That's a good idea.
But
So,
just if you're going to post it, assume everybody's going to see it. So just assume whatever you're posting, it's fair game. And if it's going to hurt your reputation, it's your choice. Um, I would hope people by now are in tune to it. But I'm sure there are times at a party and you just get a little out of hand. Things can happen, or other
how do
people
you,
taking pictures of you and you
yes.
don't have control over that. That's even worse. You just happen to
So
be
it's
in
about
in
the
a
people
picture of
you
people.
associate with too, right?
Yeah.
Who are you hanging
Yep.
around with?
Yep.
So you're a family guy. You have a beautiful family and two beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
Do you dissuade them from going in? Do you tell them, don't go into the TV business because it's crazy hours and, you know, there's a lot
No,
of uncertainty at times?
I don't persuade them. I will let them know the good and the bad, and let them really know what to expect. But I don't think I can't tell. I'm not sure if my oldest daughter is going to go in that direction. She definitely has a lot of creativity and that kind of side of her. Um, and I do see some of that. She likes photography. She likes art and all that stuff. So I could see it happening easily, but I don't know if that's what she's going to go to. And I support whatever she would do. It's her decision.
Yeah, but you're a supportive dad. How do you stay positive and motivated every day? Some of your days are 16-hour days. We've done them together, right? How do you stay positive? How do you stay motivated on the road for 2 weeks in a row and keep it together?
Yeah, I mean, you have to love what you do. Obviously, I mean that's the main thing. If you love what you do, and that's self motivation there. But as you know, the 2.5 week rolls around, and you've been on the road in your hotel room, and you're getting homesick because you miss your kids and your wife, and it does. It's tough. I guess the way I do it is I want to get back to work because I know the day's going to go faster, and
Yeah,
you just like you look for the little moments that make you happy, that shot that you no one asked for, but you got it, and it looked
right.
amazing, and it just got you pumped up for it. Like that's just the little things that you just keep getting and you look for. I don't
I
know. It's
think what
tough
you
because
said.
I'm probably not the one that asked Rob that question because
No, I'll ask Rob that question, but I think it's important for everybody to think about. But I do think what you said is really important as like a takeaway message, um, that finding something that you're passionate about and something that you love to do makes it so much easier to get up and go to work every day, right? I know that your partners appreciate everything that you do because you are out in the field a lot, and it's not easy. It is a sacrifice. And I know your family misses you.
yeah, I think though I mean for me I'm in a comfortable zone out in the field.
Yeah,
you know, uh, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what else I would do. Honestly,
you're not ready
um,
to retire.
no, but I'm also not ready to change careers either.
No,
Um, but I think it's a mix too. It's like I think that's one thing about why I could never work in an office in a desk job. I mean, I just don't. I can't even fathom how people do that. I apologize if that upsets anybody because they do it. It's amazing that you can do it, but I just there's no way I could do that. I'm in a different location, a different. I like that. I like not kind of knowing where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing the next day. Because even going to set, it's not like and we never get to scout. It's not like we know where we're going
right,
or what it's going to
right.
look like. You got to make it up when you
Usually,
get there.
right, you're
So
not the one.
you have to be totally flexible. Yeah, it can't be stuck on when this got to be this way. It's got to be changing every moment. Like yesterday we were at a shoot down up in New York and coming to this guy's house, a professor, and we're going to shoot a couple of different angles, and you're just in your mind. You were told to bring so many lights, but I ended up bringing more lights because I thought just in case. And sure enough, the way the house was situated, it was very difficult with all the sunlight coming in to find a good spot. We made it work. We got to work. Luckily, I had all the extra tools that I needed to do that. But it's like, you know, you walk into a room and they're like, all right, what's the best angle? You're like, oh, I'd like to say I know exactly what it
None.
is. Or, it's like sometimes I like to feel it out. Like, like let me look
Right.
at it. Let me see how it's going to work. I did try one way and I'm like, the window was just, no matter what I did with the dark wood, I couldn't get it to balance out evenly. And it was just like, this is not going to work, and shifted the other way and got a great look, and it just happened by chance. The window reflecting in the painting was amazing. And you really don't know that until you set it up. So being flexible.
That's a great advice. That's great advice. You have to be flexible. Um, we're in an ever-changing world and an ever-changing industry, and like you said, there's a lot of different variables. Lights coming in windows,
Sound.
Keystone always brings, what they need to be sure that they're backing themselves up, which is really important.
Yeah.
And our clients, clients come to rely on Keystone and the work that you do because they know they can depend on you to deliver, the goods, the
Yeah,
money
and I
shot.
think I would say like what makes Keystone stand out in my mind is the fact that how we take ownership of no matter what project it is. Like I go into any project, and I know my partners feel the same way. Is like I'm not there as a hired gun. I'm invested in your project. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get done. You know, to get it to where we need to be, no matter what happened or what was asked for. Like it's just the way it is. It's our mentality. I want a great product at the end, not be okay. This is what you're paying for. This is what you get. It's not how we operate. So I think that's just a big, great mentality on our end that why we why we get repeat customers.
It goes a long way, believe me. So there's so much that's been going on in the entertainment and production industry. In general, things have changed a lot, but over the last year or so, a lot of things have shifted, and Keystone's been able to adapt to that as well. But I just want to know, from your perspective, on a personal level, as a father, as a businessman, what was 2020 like for you?
2020 was very interesting, very, like you said, emotional, up and down. Um, you know, March March 15th, I was on the road shooting Restaurant Impossible, and there was a lot of dialogue going back and forth between the heads, LA and where we were, about possibly shutting down. And I thought, no way is that going to happen. Um, we're on the road already. There's no way they're going to turn us around to send us home. We were done wrapping in the one city, and we were getting ready to go to the next city the next morning. Sure enough, I woke up that morning, text came in, we got to reroute you. We're sending everybody home. I'm like, oh my God, really? This is crazy. We're in the airport. We're like, how bad is this? Are we supposed to be, we're going to be near anybody? What's going to go? What's going to happen?
You must have been
Um,
freaking out because at that point there were a million people in the airport, right?
and yeah, and you just had no idea how bad this pandemic was. Like it was, no one had heard about it before, and it was just like, oh my God, here it is. So yeah. So you get home, and all of a sudden, you wonder what's going to happen, and next thing you know, Keystone's getting a bunch of calls, cancel, cancel, cancel. Next thing you know, the whole year that we had planned was canceled. Then you're just like, oh my God, this is crazy. What do we do? I mean, it's nothing we can do. It's not our fault. But you're like, what's going to happen? So, we all made adjustments. But in the meantime, we've been streaming for a while, and we knew it was just going to get bigger. And we knew we had to really jump on it and spearhead building up the streaming capacity and the clientele and all that. So, Rob Maris and our other partners stepped up and just really went out and let everybody know that what we were doing, we do this as well, and just keep that in mind. And sure enough, we were able to bring in a lot of clients and really go 100% full streaming, investing a ton of money in hardware to build up the amount of streaming we were going to have to do. And long story short, it was the best year we've ever had, and it's crazy. We're very grateful and amazed, and but
I'm
you
blessed,
just,
right?
yeah, blessed. And I think you just, once if everybody's focused and nobody gives up, it's amazing what can happen.
It's true. One of the things, just the parting, when we were talking about being passionate and loving what you do, one of the things that Keystone is doing more community outreach.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and the importance of helping others.
Yeah, I think giving back to the community is a huge thing. I've always felt that, although I've not always done it, but I think you can't describe how good it feels to see somebody, how when they're given, helped out in a way and they're not expecting it. And, you even see it through a lot of these shows that we do with the big reveals and stuff like that, but seeing people so excited and happy about getting something that they don't feel like they deserve, but yet they do need it, it is an amazing feeling for yourself. As a company, you have to be a role model and a leader, and I think you have to show that you need to give back.
If you were to return back to any of the places that you've been or go to a place that you've never been, where would that be?
I have not been to Australia, but there's a place where I would go back.
So you'd like to go to Australia?
Yeah, just to see it. But I
Yeah.
think I would love to take my family back to do a safari in Africa. That
I'm
was an
right there
amazing
with
trip.
you. That
Just
was
so
a
they could
great
do it.
project. The Abode project
Yeah,
was an
yeah,
amazing project that you guys worked on. And you won an award from Synopsis for
yes.
the film
I
that
won
you
an
made.
award.
Hmm?
I won an award.
No, you've won more than that. So let's talk about the breadth of work you've done. You've done a lot of fun, interesting shoots. You've traveled all over the world. I mean, literally. What is one of your favorite stories that you find yourself telling over again? I know you've been really to amazing places, South Africa, and more than once, right?
Yeah.
So it might be hard for you to pick one, right? Or what would you say was, in your top three?
It is hard to pick one. And it's almost like one, I've been very fortunate. I've worked on a lot of great shows, like I can't say there's really any shows that I felt like, oh, I feel dirty about working on this show.
Yeah.
It's always been good television, I guess, in a way. It's, happy, good, fun endings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are several stories, you know, the type of show, like The Trip of a Lifetime. That was
Yes.
an amazing show to go on. And it was basically giving people a trip of a lifetime that they weren't expecting because of for whatever reason they deserved it. And you get to go along and document it.
But when you
So,
say a trip of a lifetime, just give us that image of what one of those shoots was like.
okay, yeah, like, it was, you're going to go to Hawaii and you're going to stay in a 5-star Ritz Carlton, and you're gonna come with us tonight. We're gonna go out in the ocean and we're gonna swim with the manta rays at night. And it's just like,
Tough
and
life, Andy.
to experience that is just an amazing thing. It's like being in space or seeing aliens. It's crazy. But and then flying in a helicopter over top the volcano, looking down into it, seeing the lava,
Wow.
and then and just going all over the world doing that. We did the safari in Africa. We did toured Italy, like driving a Ferrari through the
Jeez.
Tuscany Mountains.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
Dream. What a dream that must have been.
yeah,
Do you ever find yourself pinching? Like, is this real? Am I really here? Because I know
yeah,
when I was
definitely.
shooting in South Africa with Daryl, I was just like, wow, how lucky am I?
Unfortunately, sometimes it's almost like you're so busy that you don't have time to do that because
Very
they
true.
always want to pack it down and get you in and out as fast as possible to
Yeah.
save money. But looking back, you're just like thinking and you ponder on your career and you're just like, oh my God, what a career. How did I get here? But, it happened and it's very fortunate.
Andy, I really appreciate your time. I know it's getting late tonight, and I know you're going to be heading out on the road again. It's the weekend. Hopefully, the snow on Sunday is not going to hold you up. Hopefully, it won't snow.
I'm
And
going south, so
thanks so much, Andy. And I look
yep.
forward to
Thank you,
chatting with
Jody.
you again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. It was a
Have a
pleasure.
great weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Subscribe to our podcast to hear more.